Welcome back. Previously I talked about statesmanship, the culture of rage, and the lie that we have to agree in order to be able to tolerate others. And that is most certainly a lie, because we don't have to agree simply to tolerate others. There are many tributaries to the culture of rage. And I just want to talk about two of them. One is the lie that others will never change, and they're so wrong that we can't treat them kindly. This is often shown in speeches about those people, whatever those people happens to be. It's implied that there's something so wrong about those people that they can't possibly become correct. They can't possibly learn and become people whose opinions should be valued. This is obviously not true, but it's fairly prevalent in our society. It's also kind of an implication in a lot of political rhetoric that we have these stubborn, rotten opponents who, if they would just listen to us, would have the right idea. And this simply is not true. People don't have to agree with us to be right. We could be wrong. But another one of those tributaries that leads to this culture of rage is this idea that this lie, that anyone who contradicts our viewpoint, any contradiction of our viewpoint, is a reason to attack. This is a philosophy that seems common in gangs. And in the philosophies of the narcissist. anything that disagrees with my worldview must be destroyed. That is this lie. And it really leads to a weakening of whatever society you're in. Because instead of looking for reality and finding out where you're wrong, it ostracizes and distances those who could tell you where you're wrong. So these are tributaries of this culture of rage. So what leads to a culture of peace? A culture of peace comes from humility, from the humility to accept that we might be wrong. So when we have the humility to accept that we might be wrong, we can work toward a culture of peace. Because when we start with that idea, when we look at what others say, and think about why they feel that what they're saying is true, we can understand different viewpoints. And understanding different points of view can get us the information that we can't get for ourselves because we're too tall to see under the counter or too short to see on top of the shelf. So, one good way to seek truth is to try to see where we are right, where our opponents are right, and where we might both be wrong. These are good questions to ask ourselves. Who is right? Who is wrong? Because it may be that neither of us is correct. And if that is the case, then we need to figure it out. See, when we're looking at who is right, where we're right, where our opponents are right, and where we might both be wrong, I'm not talking about compromise. Compromise is almost always a terrible thing. Because it leads to the abandoning of our principles. instead of looking for a false agreement, which is a compromise, we need to try to find where we do agree and where we can modify our agreement, our statements, without abandoning our principles. Where we can become right, instead of just assuming and asserting and demanding that we are right. I'm talking not about compromise, but about examining our beliefs to see where they are valid. We need to see validity where it's there, but we also need to see where our beliefs are invalid, so that we don't try to hold on to something that's not true. See, when an author writes a book, they get to decide what is real. The author of reality, like the author of a book, chooses what is real. The characters don't choose what is real. The author does. See, we're like the characters in a book. We can choose some things, and our choices produce parts of reality. But our choices are not, in and of themselves, reality. We don't choose what reality is, but our choices have an effect on reality. Wow, I hit the wrong button and lost a lot of footage. We can make some choices, and our choices do produce some of reality. But apart from that, we don't get to choose our own reality. And since we don't live in a world where our whims become reality, we know that truth is absolute. Like gravity. You cannot jump off of a high place and just choose not to fall. There are many things that we cannot choose, and since our whims do not define reality, we know that truth is absolute. There are some exceptions, but they are very minor. We all have preferences, likes, dislikes, and we all have deeds that we have done. These are things we chose to do. So our choices affect reality, but they don't make reality. Rather, these opinions are just exceptions. They're decisions. They don't make reality. They affect reality. They have, like our intentions and deeds and preferences and likes, they have related truths. It is true that I like some things and dislike other things. That is true. And I do get to choose those things sometimes. There are some things that I like or dislike that I didn't really think about or choose, and I can't really choose not to. Just because they're not entirely based on my whims. My deeds become reality in the form of history, but even there, but on the other hand, the past does not define the present. If you robbed banks in the past, it doesn't mean you have to keep robbing banks. But since truth is absolute, it is important that we find it. Because when we don't, we're likely to stumble off of a cliff and hurt ourselves. We find truth when we are willing to release certainty. Certainty is the enemy of truth, because when you believe that you have already found the truth, you can't really look for it. You cannot become right while being right, or thinking yourself to be. See, science is all about testing hypotheses, examining hypotheses, testing repeatedly, and correcting errors where they are found. Not about accepting dogma. In order to produce real science, you have to release control. The same is true of the search for truth. You have to release control. people will be wrong. You have to accept that. Don't get mad at them. Just speak the truth. These are the facts. The facts indicate not these are the only positions you are allowed to have in spite of facts. That is not science. You say you don't believe in absolute truth? Well, if that's their truth, if that's the case, then you have never heard a lie. To recognize a lie is to believe in truth. See, when you get right down to it, deep down, everyone believes in absolute truth. Some people are more comfortable saying that they don't because they feel that this position allows our choices to not be wrong. See, if there's truth, there's also falsehood. And some people are just not willing to accept the possibility of being proven false, of being proven wrong. Being wrong is part of life. It's something we have to accept. No one sees everything. That's the thing about being wrong. Everyone is wrong about something. But hardly anyone is wrong about everything. Being wrong is the first step in becoming right. Remember that certainty is the enemy of truth. When we are certain, we stop looking for the truth. But when we give up being certain, we can start to find it. Join me next time for some restful gameplay, followed by me talking about peace, how we can get peace from not accepting alternatives to reality.